welcome back to my channel. My name is Tatiana. I'm a business coach, I'm a mentor, and a woman that is here to encourage you to get out of your own way. Today we are talking about fear, y'all, and I think that it is a really, really good topic for this time of year, especially as we are, trying to just do new things. We're trying to stay on top of the goals that we set. And sometimes fear can kick in and it can really stop us. I want to share some of my own personal story and really just some tips with you to encourage you in this season as you are maybe getting ready to start a business or you're getting ready to dive into something new. Maybe you have a big life change getting ready to happen. I know for me, we are expecting a baby here pretty soon. And so there's so many different things in life that come with fear. And I'm going to be speaking to business a lot, but I think all of this can be applied to all of the things that we deal with when we decide to put ourselves out there and step forward in what we're being called to do. We want to be obedient, right? Lord, we want to be obedient, but sometimes the fear can just stop us, right? And we may not know why, and that is what we're going to discuss. So I actually am downstairs in my living room filming, and excuse the kind of like semi-clean background in the back. It's very rare that I'm home by myself, and my husband and my daughter are out right now. And I was like, oh, this might be kind of like nice, cozy vibes on the couch. I got my water, I'm chilling. And I thought we could just change it up a little bit while we talk about fear. Okay, so the first thing I want to share is I created back in, it might have been 2019. It was a fear model for goals training. It was a free training that I made. I'm going to link my OG training down below because that was actually my very first email opt-in that I had ever did. And it was when I finally was like, okay, I'm going to take my email seriously. I'm going to start building up my list. And that was kind of what I kicked it off with. I kind of launched my email list with that. And it did really, really well. It was something very, very dear to my heart as well, too, because I know how paralyzed fear can have us. And in so many different instances throughout my business, I have felt fearful, even with doing that mailing list and launching that. Like, I was scared to put that out there. I didn't know what people were going to think, how it was going to be received. So the fear model for goals was literally off of fear that I had of wanting to do this thing. I knew it was good for my business. I knew it was something that was just good for my soul to be able to share with others and encourage them. But at the same time, I just really felt like this is so unknown territory to me. And it was the first time I had ever done like a training style thing with a workbook and all of that. So check it out. It'll be linked in the description. But I have conquered, and I'm using the word conquered because I'm really trying to empower myself through this. I encourage you to do the same thing, to use words that might feel big or they might feel, like they might feel almost too big for what you're talking about. But it's like, no, I conquered the day, okay? Like I conquered the day. I woke up early. I'm here. I'm showing up for myself. I am resilient. I'm brilliant. Like pour those words into yourself because even though it may not feel like, oh, it's brilliant that I woke up early, right? But it's like, no, you're doing something that some people just do not do, right? Whether it's out of laziness, whether it's out of excuses, whether it's because they can't. And so really trying to wrap our head around fear, the first thing, and this isn't even in my notes, is just that I think it's important for us to recognize the place that we're at in life, the blessings that we have, the abilities that we have, and to know that they are a gift and we can be grateful for them and we can speak life into them. And that is a big part of how we can face fear. So when I started my stationery business back in 2016, of course, naturally, I was fearful. I had never done an Etsy shop before. I had never sold a product before. It was all very, very foreign to me. I had to learn design programs in order for me to make my A5 inserts. That's kind of what I kicked everything off with. I had to learn the whole process, the nitty gritty. I had to figure out how to ship things out to people. And I had to navigate social media and what it meant to like post on there as a business. And it was so many things that I was scared of. And I didn't even want to share about it online. Like I didn't even really want to talk about what I was selling. I was nervous for family and just different people I knew from like back in the day to find out, simply because it was unknown. It was something I had never done before. I was fearful of it. But what I realized is that if I continued to allow myself to be in this cloud of all of the excuses and reasons why I can't do anything, other people are still doing it. Other people are still living their lives. All these things are still happening and it's not going anywhere. You know, it's still on my heart. It was something I was still thinking about. And so for a year, I had talked myself out of starting this business. Okay. So I feel like I could have launched my business in 2015, technically. Okay. But I instead kind of was doing photography, which was still a business, you know, but it wasn't really the business that I desired and really wanted to get into. And now I see why, because I look at the platform that I have now and the things that I've done over the years, and I'm like, it makes sense. It makes sense for that moment that happened. It makes sense for the time it took for me to get through that, because now I'm able to share that with you. And so I've been there before, and I continue to be there as I launch new types of products. When I did my planners, it was the same thing. I was very scared to put it out there because I had never sold planners, but it was such a big dream of mine that overtook any excuse or anything that had ever got in my way of wanting to do it. It was such a big dream, and I felt like the doing it was going to be so much more beneficial than me continuing to sit on the idea. And I can honestly say that launching my planners, I'm so proud of it. It was such a big feat, especially because I did them handmade. And I really put my heart and soul into that entire process. And I continue to year after year, but it just was such a stamp on something that I had dreamed of doing for years, but felt like it was just too big to accomplish. And so when I finally did it, I was like, oh, wow, you know. Other things I've done, I have like some notes down here. Other things I've done in my business, I closed my stationery business. That was super scary to announce that. I didn't know how it would be received because I had built this channel off of that business, and people really took it well, and I'm so grateful for that. But man, what a time that was of just wrestling with the idea of closing it and what that looked like and what life would be like after. I launched a podcast. That was new territory and just something that I was unfamiliar with, as well as like when I did my subscription box and when I closed my subscription box. I think sometimes too that can be a thing where it's like, it could be the fear of starting something, but it could also be the fear of stepping away. And in both instances, it takes this muscle that we have to really work. But the more that you work it, you have all of this proof now that backs it up. So now, like when there's things that I want to do and I'm like, ooh, I don't know, I've never done this before, this is scary. I have all of this kind of like a resume of fear, right? A resume of things that I decided to move forward with, a resume of action I took. And I can look at that and say, okay, but I made it through this. I'm better on the other side. Look at all of the things I learned. Look at the testimony I have. Look at the blessings that it brought me. And so I have two scriptures here. There's so many in the Bible on fear, but two specifically that I wanted to read. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. And that's Isaiah 41:10. And I think that that's such a good reminder that God is always with us. I'm a believer, and that is something that is very much tied to how I'm able to make decisions in my business, how I'm able to overcome fear, and how I'm able to sometimes really just get like that final nod to be like, okay, am I really doing this? Am I really doing this because God, you know? And He is always with us. He places these random ideas in my head, and I'm like, where did that come from? That's so random. It's so strange. It's so uncomfortable. It's got to be God, right? That's not something I would ever do naturally on my own. And I'm grateful to have His presence. And it's not always there. You know, I'm just going to keep it real. It's not always there. And there are times where I'm, you know, getting into something and I'm like, okay, God, is this really what you really want me to be doing? And that's where that fear really sets in. And sometimes I will not be quick to move on things if I'm feeling a little bit of a resistance with it, if I'm feeling unsure, if I'm not really understanding exactly how it ties to just my overall, what I feel is like my assignment. I really do try my best to pray about it. I try my best to seek the Lord when I can, and really also just speak with trusted people in my life as well that know me, that are safe spaces. that I can also kind of get those things out. And so like kind of the same for you. And I hope as I'm sharing these things with you, that I deal with and how I handle fear, that it can just kind of give you some encouragement, because having those having those conversations and praying is some of the most invaluable things that you can do for yourself when you are stuck in fear, because people can build you up. They can tell you things about yourself that maybe you aren't even thinking about, or that you just don't even have on your radar, to just really give you the fuel that you need to do it. And then also the prayer really helps, because it's passing it along to the Father. It's giving him an opportunity to step in on your behalf and show you that you are equipped, and that he would not call you to do something if he did not feel like you were. I think we can all feel like we're not qualified to do something, but if you are called, you are qualified. You will get all of the resources and the answers, and the unknowns will be filled in for you as you go. But it's important for you to take action and be obedient, so that you can truly see what that is. And then the other scripture is, for God gave us spirit, not fear, but of power and love and self-control. And this is from 2 Timothy 1:7. Self-control is a big thing. I know for me, whenever I think of self-control, when I'm thinking of this scripture, or even in the spirit of fear, I really am thinking about the negative self-talk and how I can control that better. If I'm thinking about something that I want to pursue, and then instantly my mind goes to, well, girl, you don't got no time, or you can't do that, or you've never done that before, or look at so-and-so, they've been doing it for X amount of years. This is your day one, all of these different negative stories that I tell myself, that I deal with, the inspiration queen over here, or I try to be as much as I can. Like, I need the inspiration and encouragement just as much as the next person, because that negative talk, those limiting beliefs, those things that we tell ourselves, they're false. And there was an acronym that I came across years ago when I was doing the research for that Fear Model for Goals opt-in thing I was telling you guys about. And it was on Pinterest, and it was just simply false evidence appearing real. And that was how they broke down fear in an acronym. And that has stuck with me since, because all of these things that we tell ourselves, even though it feels like it's true, it feels like this is it, like this is the narrative, it's false. There hasn't been anything proven. It's not your actual story. It's not your actual lived experience. It's simply you feeling like it's this evidence. It appears real to you. It appears like this is the truth. It appears that you can't do this because you haven't done it before. It appears like so-and-so is doing it better, so why even give it a try? It appears that way, but it's false. There is no way that we can ever do anything in life if we continue to believe false things, right? If we buy into stuff that just absolutely does not resonate with us, what we're being called to do, what God wants us to do as his people, we have to really look at the truth. The truth, that's going to be the word. The truth is going to be the evidence of things that you actually have done, right? And the truth is going to be what is really in your heart. Because even though you might be feeling like, I'm just so negative about this situation, and I journal all of the time when I need to. I have conversations with my husband about stuff, and I'm like, why am I feeling this way? What has really been the reason of why I keep telling myself this story? And sometimes it's things that are way deeper than just like, oh, I'm scared because it's unknown. It might be like, ooh, yeah, I got some bumps and bruises from my childhood that I haven't quite worked out yet, of experiences that I've had. Oh, yeah, I've had that experience in that relationship that really didn't treat me the best, and now I have this narrative replaying in my mind from that. Oh yeah, that person said that one thing to me, and even though it probably seems small in the moment, it's still something that's in the back of my mind. And those things aren't always going to come up naturally for us, and that's where therapy might come in, like really seeking counseling and help, which is very, very important to do. When you are trying to be an entrepreneur and you want to be successful, Mental health is such a big part of entrepreneurship. I feel like I could do a whole video on that, because with the way online is set up and the way these people can be set up out here, you know, all of the critiques and just all of the comparison, all of the changes happening in these different apps, it's so much to keep up with, and it can be very easy to just feel swamped and overwhelmed with it all. And your mental health can take a toll very easily. You know, no wonder you see people stepping away from things, taking social media breaks, completely disappearing, closing businesses, and because it's so much, you know, it's a lot on you. And so equipping yourself, having your resources, you know, getting into therapy if needed, having the conversations, staying close to God. These are all ways that fear will start to appear fake to you, right? Fear will start to remove itself from your mind, and it'll open you up to the world of what it truly means to step into what you want to do. And so the last part, I shared the fear model for goals. So I'm not going to really get too much into it, because if you get the actual thing, like if you get the download and stuff, you'll get the nitty gritty of what it is. But it is an acronym I made myself. The F is find the purpose. E is erase the doubt. A is action. And R is remember why you started. So finding the purpose is just simply, you know, what is it that you're trying to do? Really putting a name to it, putting a face to it, visualizing yourself in it, what that would look like, really taking it and running with it, right? Like, what do you see yourself doing with this thing in the next 3 to 5 years? You know, what will it look like this time next year if you accomplish this goal, or you make this thing happen that you're being called to, but that feels fearful right now? And then erase the doubt. That is backing it up with all of the things that you have done previously. Even for me right now, like, I'm getting ready to have a baby. I'm about to be a mom of 2. Y'all, I'm scared, okay? I don't know what it's going to be like to be a mom of 2. But I think back to this is how I erase the doubt. I think back to a time when I was scared to become a mom of 1. And now, 6 years later, even though days can get interesting, right? You know, nothing's perfect, and I'm always figuring out what it means to be a mom. I can honestly say that I figured it out. You know, I did what I needed to do. I showed up. I feel equipped. I feel qualified. Even in those days when I really don't feel qualified, I know that I wouldn't be placed in this role as Emery's mom if that wasn't what I was meant to do, you know? And as the years go on, I have all of this proof now to show myself that that was a difficult season. It was a lot to learn, a lot to navigate. I remember when we first brought her home, and honestly, I'm not a super kid person, if that makes any sense. I didn't grow up with a lot of small kids or anything. And so I didn't know what I was doing really. You know, it was all such a new process for me. I knew that I loved her so much, and I felt the nurturing spirit, but I had to really figure out what it meant to be a mom, because it just wasn't natural in some ways. Some ways it was very natural, and especially now, at the age she's at, I feel like it's so much easier. But in the beginning, when I had never had a kid before, I was just like, okay, this is kind of scary. This is foreign. I got to take care of this person. Y'all sending me home with her? What's going on? And so I'm taking that evidence. I'm taking that lived experience and all of the things that scared me in that season, and I'm pulling all of that into this next season with baby number 2. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be an amazing mom to him. Even though I don't know what it's like to have 2 kids, even though I don't know what it's like to be a boy mom, right? It's going to be all new territory for me again. I'm going to lean on God in this situation. I'm going to lean on my support system, and I'm going to remember that I've been here before. I've been here before, and even if it looks different, it has a different face, I've been here, right? And even if it was in a situation where maybe I had never been a mom before, I can look at other experiences in my life where I have been facing a situation that is completely brand new, completely something that I have never had my hands in, and I'm able to pull from that and allow myself to use that as evidence, use that as the proof, and erase the doubt. And then A is the action. That is the things that you do after, once you kind of have that validation for yourself, it's time to take action. It's time to figure out, okay, what are my first steps? What are going to be those different things, those milestones that I need to hit to get there? When do I want to have it done? Giving yourself deadlines and timelines is very important, especially when it comes to things that you're already kind of a little bit hesitant on. Because if you just kind of put it out there like, oh, tomorrow I'll do a little bit something towards it. It's like, no, get very specific with the goal. Get very down to the nitty gritty of like, okay, what day are you going to do this? How many steps can you break it up into? Okay, I'm going to do this step on this day, and this needs to happen by then. Like, get very specific with yourself and assign it in a way that it's almost hard for you to not do it, right? Put it on your calendar. Put it in your planner. Take the action. And then the R is remember why you started. And that is really going back to your why behind what you're doing. If God has called you to it, that might be your why. I know for me, a lot of the things I do is for my daughter, like I really want to be an example. I want to be able to have something to pass down one day. And I want to be a role model. So it's like that could be the thing of why I started. I also really love what I do. And I love the impact that I'm able to make, in my little corner on the internet here. And so that's another reason why. It's just the women and the encouragement that I'm able to give and help people. That is a thing that helps me in those moments where I kind of face that fear again. I face that doubt because it will happen in different parts of the process. But I'm always reminded of the bigger purpose, the why. And yeah, so I'm going to kind of leave it with that because I think no matter what I say, no matter what examples I give, at the end of the day, you have to be the one that's willing to give your yes to something. And it's going to take whatever one of these things, or maybe even something else, to finally snap you out of that mindset of feeling like I can't do this, because you can do it. You can do it. I believe in you. You have to believe in yourself. One thing I will encourage you to do is to check out the Inspire Blueprint membership. It is a membership that I built. We're actually getting ready to celebrate our 2nd anniversary soon, which is absolutely crazy. But it's also something that I stepped out on fear to create a couple years ago. And it is a group of ladies where we get together monthly for training. We have connection calls, like accountability calls. We do co-working together. We learn together because, like I said, there's trainings for business as well as personal things. And it's just a safe space for you to come, to feel understood, to be around women that are very similar to you in a sense of, they're trying to build things as well alongside of life and fear. And there's so many instances where we have been on calls where people are simply fearful of what it is that they're trying to do. They've said it in the accountability call. They've put it on their goals. They've shared about the process of what they're doing. And then when it comes down to it, sometimes that group of people, the encouragement, the pouring, the prayers that we have in that group, in the community, it's like that was the last piece of what they needed to go forward. And then we get to see all of the wins of the members and people launching things and finally hitting publish and finally doing what they've been called to do, but getting that extra support and accountability along the way. The Inspire Blueprint membership is such a beautiful testament of what I wish I had when I first started. And if fear happens to be one of those things for you, that might be a strange reason to join a membership. I don't know. But I feel like that could be the very thing, that could help you unlock what is holding you back. Because we are always pouring into one another. And I'm so grateful for the group of ladies that we have in there. And I invite you to join us, to come check us out, because it's such a good time. It's such a good time. It's very rewarding. You can cancel at any time. I hope you wouldn't, but of course people come and go, and that's just a part of life. But if it's in this season and it's feeling right for you, check out the membership, see what it's all about, and join us, because we have amazing things happening all of the time. people doing wonderful things, and I want you to have the support that you need as you continue on in the year and just within all of the things that God calls you to do, to just have whatever you need to feel seen and understood. I think that as women, that there's nothing more important than feeling seen and understood in the things that we're trying to do. We need that. And that's the space that I've tried to build. And so far it seems to be successful in that way. And yeah, so check out the membership. And that is what I'm going to leave you with. Thank you so much for watching this video. Step out on faith, okay? Do it afraid. Get over the fear. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.